Hey, good evening, everyone. This is Bob Jones with the Concerned Forum, and I hope that all is well with you, and it will continue to be so as we try to navigate what's happening with this Trump administration. Now, first thing I want to talk about is I have this channel here, and I would really appreciate if I could get some more of you folks to subscribe. I think I have something to say, and I think there's a lot of you out there that are willing to listen to it. Also, if you like the show, make a mark. If you don't like it, then by all means, put it there anyway. Um, the show I do here, this is basically this is my opinion from a lifetime of experience dealing in government, military, intelligence, so on and so forth. So let's roll. Okay, first thing. I think that what really, one of the things that really bothers me is this Justice Department attempt to try a failed attempt. I know that they wanted to indict 6 senators, okay, which all they happen to be Democrats, right? Now, the funny thing is that they're all military, or members of the intel community, and in most cases, it appear to be both. And why? What did they do? What did they say? They told military people that you are not supposed to obey illegal orders, right? Now, having been a military person, having taken the oath several times, okay, I don't know what the hell the fuss is about, quite frankly. And I think that people need to understand that the American military, we don't take our loyalty is not to a king, a queen, a prime minister, or a president. Our loyalty goes strictly to the Constitution of the United States. Period. End of story. And those are laws that are set, okay, by Congress, excuse me, by our Constitution. And we don't, quite frankly, we don't have a choice. We have the Constitution. We have the Uniform Code of Military Justice, and that's who we obey. It's just that simple. Now, if Hicksmith, what's his name? Hicksmith, whatever the guy's name is, the and no, he ain't call him no damn Secretary of War. If he wants people to call him Secretary of War, he needs to go to Congress. But between him and Trump, which the five-time bone spur draft dodger, uh, I really don't think he has any business telling former military people how they're supposed to conduct themselves. And the idea that you are going to try and burn people, especially these people, for saying what every military person already knows, it smells to high heavens. I just got something coming in my computer. What's it say? Enraged Trump blasts blue state governor for massive ecological disaster. Donald Trump Monday tried to blame Maryland's Democratic governor for a sewage dump in the Potomac. Now, I find that very curious because I don't even think that Trump can spell the word ecological. Quite frankly, I don't think he knows what it is. Say the truth, and according to him, there's no climate change. So for him to talk about what's his name, Westmore, the governor of Maryland, having an ecological disaster, I find that kind of weird, quite frankly. Now, we're at a standstill because the Democrats, between the Congress and the Senate, are saying they're not going to give any more funding uh, to us. Okay, Now, I'm a little different on that. My take is a little bit different. My take is that ICE should be defunded. Period. That's what needs to happen. Okay. ICE is how should what's the word I want to use? These are people who are basically off the reservation. They are acting as Donald Trump's racial Praetorian Guard. And in America, we don't need that. This is not 1930s Europe, right? You look at the old movies, right? Papers. Let me see your papers, please. Walking down the street. Let me see your papers. That's not America, quite frankly. And Trump's always talking about, how much he loves America, which is a lie. Okay. Now, as far as I'm concerned, he may love some of the children of America because, in my opinion, the man is a pedophile. Okay. That's my opinion. And I have a right to that opinion. I'm from New York City. I've been observing Trump since I was paying attention since I was about what, 14, 13? So I know this guy. New Yorkers, we know this guy, right? We know his character. And uh, this whole cover up with the Epstein thing, it's a goddamn disgrace. He has an attorney general that is she attorney general? Or is she his personal secretary? I'm trying to figure that one out. She don't act like a lawyer. She don't act like an attorney general. She acts like a secretary constantly trying to cover for her boss when he's out cheating. So I think that we need to, as a country, I think we really need to grow up, quite frankly. And I would say this also because I'm a registered Democrat. I'm a super progressive. I think Mondami is great in New York. So you know where I stand. That's me. Okay. But I think that I would say to my Democratic folks that we need to, this whole idea about trying to be mainstream, middle of the road, all this bullshit, we need to dump that. Okay. This democracy is in a fight for its life. Okay. You got a president sitting in the White House that says that he wants to nationalize all elections. Now, the Constitution clearly provides that elections are the provinces of the state. See? But because of the fact that Donald has pissed off the American people so badly, and he's afraid of having a Democratic House and a Democratic Senate, that he's desperate. And I would tell my Democratic partisans that, hey, listen, and I would also speak to those Republicans that still have brain cells left that this is danger time. Okay, Trump and the thugs that he has in his cabinet, they're terrified. They're terrified of going to jail, and they definitely deserve to go to jail, in my opinion. And that's why we have to pay careful attention to what happens to this midterm election. Okay, now something else we need to talk about. Um, this whole thing about ICE and the Democrats sitting on the money and saying, no, 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 no. As Americans, what are we supposed to do? Are we supposed to pay these guys, these ICE thugs, for murdering American citizens? Anybody ever hear the First Amendment out there? You have the right to protest against laws or, excuse me, actions by the government that you feel are unconstitutional or immoral. That's just the way it is. That's what the country was supposedly founded upon. Now, if you have problems with that, then maybe you need to move to Russia or some other totalitarian place. I'm black, so I'm used to hearing, I can believe it. Well, hey, man, I learned, right? I came over here in Africa to get married, and I'm living here now, but I'm still an American. I will still speak my piece. And I think the world is looking at, excuse me, I don't think, I know Because where I'm at in Africa, it's kind of like a crossroads, and you got Brits, all kinds of Western Europeans, you Russians, Chinese, a lot of Chinese. And they're all wondering, what the hell happened to the United States? And, I think that those Americans with their red hats and all this other good shit, I believe that they have a lot to answer for. But they are when they go to the supermarket and they can't afford to buy food, when their SNAP benefits are cut off, when ma or grandma is thrown out in the street from the nursing home because they've made these drastic cuts in Medicaid, Medicare. See, so what is it? I'm not going to say it, but you messed around and you found out the hard way. So, the world is looking at that. Believe me. And this business about Trump talking about, oh, well, I don't, I want to bomb Iran because they're mean to demonstrators. Yeah, Iran is very mean to demonstrators. As a matter of fact, they're brutal to demonstrators. I mean, that's their thing. But guess what? How do you think all that started? Remember, Iran started off back in '53 with a elected democracy. Okay. And America, and I understand MI6 had something to do with that, that overthrew, what's his name, was Moses Day, and they brought the Shah's family back. And remember now, these are the same bozos that we kicked out in 1940 because they were too friendly to the Nazis. So you go figure. And Iranians found out about that and they were pissed. That's what triggered the whole back in the early '80s, late '70s and early '80s about the whole Iranian hostage thing. So, yeah, Iran is a problem for the United States, but it is a problem of America's own creation. So, whatever happens in the future, let's not forget that. Okay? See what happens when you read a little history, study, right? And what you learn, be surprised. Just like this business in Venezuela, going down kidnapping folks. How would you like it if somebody kidnapped Donald Trump? Oh, I shouldn't I shouldn't ask that. Okay, because I know a lot of folks, Americans, that would love to see this guy snatched, but it's not the right thing to do. Okay, you don't have the right to go into sovereign nations and kidnap their leaders. That's not supposed to be the American way. See, but America did that. America under Trump did that. All because he wanted to give oil wells to some of his billionaire backers. Trump did it. And I think that we're going to have to answer for that someday. Just like we're going to have to answer, like the Pope said, we're going to have to answer for all those people that we slaughtered in those fishing boats, right? Supposedly running drugs from Venezuela all the way up to Florida. Uh, well, I tell you, I'm a Navy guy, okay? And I've seen interdictions at sea, and being born and raised in New York, I understand the drug bust. And the way it's usually done, right? You get the local cops, you got the DA, you got DEA, maybe even FBI, ATF. Sometimes even the mayor at that time, who's ever the mayor at that time, he'll come in there for, face off. And they'll have a big warehouse or a table or both, right? All the dope, all the guns, all the money, right? Yeah, this is what we did. When the Navy and Coast Guard do it, they have it on the deck of the ship, right? So everybody can see, yeah, this is what we captured. But blowing people to atoms because you say that they're carrying drugs on speedboats or fishing boats? That's very interesting. That's a very novel way of committing murder. because that's what it is, right? And in a just world, someday, uh, I believe that Trump will have to answer for that, but we'll see. Now, what else did I jot down here? Oh, yes. The AI and the crashing economy. You got millions of Americans who are hungry or not eating well, um, jobless, right? These corporations are firing people by the thousand. The educational system in America is basic, unless you're really wealthy, the educational system is you get more knowledge going to the bathroom, quite frankly. That's how bad it's gotten. And of course, remember, you live in a country now where this administration says that the United States of America does not need a Department of Education. Now, think about that. We're in the 21st century, all kinds of economic competition and what have you, and people need to know about the world that they live in and the science of climate change and this and that. And you say that you don't need no education. We don't need no Department of Education. That's what this Trump administration has given us. I'll tell you quite frankly, I think that anybody that wants to be a teacher in the United States, they deserve some kind of golden award, quite frankly, because the amount of abuse that they get from conservatives and Republican politicians. I mean, God damn, you got teachers out there having to buy supplies for their own classes. And Donald Trump wants to put up, he wants to get money to build an Arc de Triomphe like in France. Okay. He wants his White House to be glittered in gold. So think about that. You have taken away um, health care, SNAP benefits, right? Education, right? Is anybody getting this? Hey, MAGA, are you getting this? This is what is happening here in America. Meanwhile, oh my God, I don't know how many billions of dollars you ship off to Israel to decimate Palestinians in Gaza. Now, I'm not going to get into the whole history right now, okay? But Israel, they have free healthcare, free college, university education, okay, among other things. So why is billions of dollars going to them when working Americans, and pardon my French, but you don't got shit, right? They're trying to track you down with school loans and your job's going AI, so they don't need you. I mean, and those are the ones that have the nice inside jobs, right? Yeah, we're going to AI. So teach the computers everything you do, everything you know, and then get out. Right? That's what AI is all about. Okay? And like I said, you don't have health care, right? The ability to eat and feed your kids has been taken away, but yet we have all these billions of dollars going to Israel. On top of that, here in Africa, America had we had a great rep of our soft power. What is soft power? Medical help, right? Our farmers made money in places where they had, like in Northern Africa, drought and stuff like that. And Elon Musk told Trump, "Hey, look, just cut it. Let those black bastards starve." That's what he did. See, and then this is what amazes me. Because I understand that in the Trump administration, you have essentially an anti-black, anti-people of color administration. They have said so. Okay. I don't care whether you're talking about Bad Bunny or whether you're talking about taking down the memorials and tributes to black soldiers from the Civil War and World War II. Okay, this guy, and also the comments that Trump himself has made, calling African nations shithole countries. And what did he say about Puerto Rico? What do you call it, a toilet or something like that? And just do toilet paper at the people, after they had just survived the hurricane? So, Trump is like a known quantity, okay? Not to mention the fact that the most well-known Black Americans, not just in the United States, but in the world, Michelle and Barack Obama, he sent out a meme portraying them as apes. So I'm trying to understand. I need to talk to my um, African brothers and sisters here. Um, why would any African leader seriously contemplate doing business with this American administration that has come out of their mouth and said just how hateful they are towards people of color? And when they are deporting all these Latinos, a lot of black immigrants are being shipped out of the country. Okay? So this administration has proven it has, look what he says about the Somalis, right? What do you call them? Garbage people, thieves, all kinds of stuff. So why any African leader would even sit down for a cup of tea with this President Trump administration? Um, I have, I'm aghast. I'm aghast. Why would you do that? Why would you do a deal with an administration that thinks that you are a freaking ape? I mean, hey, listen, every nation, they have to look out for their own best interests. But I would ask African leaders on this continent, why do you think that any of your best interests would be, would be helped by a guy that thinks that you're a goddamn gorilla? I don't get it. Okay. Now I only have 1 year towards my master's degree, so I don't have the PhD and what have you. But just Harlem street smarts, it makes me question why any African leaders would do that. I understand in Cameroon they're allowing Trump to the poor people that he snatches up and deports, the people of color that he snatches up in the ports from America, he ships over to the African nation of Cameroon. Why? Why? I mean, listen, and I mean no disrespect to any African leader here, but yo, man, sometimes I understand that money, wealth, and let's face it, just like domestic politics in the States and world politics, sometimes a lot of things are done in the back rooms. I mean, that's just real. That's the way it is. But I would say to African leaders that there has to come up, there has to be a point. There has to be a red line somewhere. You're dealing with somebody that thinks that you are subhuman. And am I condemning the United States? No, I'm condemning this particular administration because they feel no different about whether you are black or brown from Africa or Puerto Rico or from New York Harlem. Okay. And, I think that there's something that you really need to sit down and think about. And I would say to my Caucasian fellow American citizens, one thing about America around the world, we supposedly have always stood for certain things: justice, equality. Now, God knows, the whole world knows that we have problems, okay, living up to our ideals. But they gave us, no, the world gave us credit for at least trying to reach those ideals. And now, what the world sees, that they see America doing a total abandonment of everything that made America great. See, so hey, I don't know. You know, I mean, I'm here. I came to Africa in June. I was in love with an African lady. I married her, and I'm trying to somehow do the media thing that I was doing when I was back in New York. But I, I don't claim at this point to be an African expert, but I do know right and wrong. I do know about human respect, and I would caution African leaders. And I understand that, yo, we 400 years away from each other. Okay, we like distant cousins. Okay, but I don't want to see. I don't want to see any people subjugated, either with chattel slavery, with chains, with economics, with unfair trade, and I mean, let's face it. This is the continent where I originally came from. You know, and I just like with Irish Americans or Italian Americans, okay, or Greek Americans. If you screwed over, Greek Americans, I'm quite sure, well, it's already happened. We talk about reparations. The only folks in America who ever got reparations, besides the Japanese, for the concentration camps they were placed in during World War II, was Greek Americans. What was that, back like in the 1890s or something? And they were chased out of the town. I think it was San Francisco, and they got reparations for that. See, so I'm not even going to go into the reparation thing with black folks, which also brings me into this, what is it, fundamental Black Americans. I think that's the craziest thing I've ever heard of, because slavery. Hold on a second. Something happened with Alex Jones at Wits End with Trump's dirty DOJ. Oh, I'm shocked. Oh, a MAGA guy is shocked because he finds DOJ is dirty because of Pam Bondi. Well, hey, man, welcome to the fight. What the hell else can I say? Right? But getting back to this thing about what they call foundational Black America, it's the most idiotic thing I ever heard of, quite frankly. And I suspect, in my opinion, that there's some money coming from somewhere. Because the people that keep all of us down, black, white, yellow, brown, red, okay, that's how they operate. So you cause division not only between communities, but within communities, right? And I think that that's what this FBA thing is all about. All right? Now, that's my opinion. Okay, so if you want to yell and scream at me all you want, that's fine. That's my damned opinion. And I'll tell you why. Number one, I take it personal. I think it's an insult. Um, my dad was born in what they call the United States Virgin Islands. Okay, I had a couple of cousins that were legislators in the Puerto Rican Assembly. Okay, uh, my his dad was Dominican. Okay, uh, my dad's mom was Haitian. See, that's the Caribbean. People go back and forth, they intermingle. Um, my mom, my mother, right? She was born, raised in the capital of the old Confederacy, Richmond, Virginia, right down Broad Street Road. Okay, right there in Central Virginia. Okay, me myself, I'm born and raised in New York City, right out of home. The tenements, the projects, that's me. Proud of it. Now, these FBA people, I'd like to ask them if they ever heard of a guy named Stokely Conway. Okay. The gentleman that founded SNCC was a student, non-violent, whatever, right? Back in the 60s. I wonder if they ever heard of a person named Marcus Garvey. Okay. Yeah, the Universal Negro Improvement Association, the Black Star. Just off the top of my head, I think Trotter, James Trotter. I gotta, remember my names here. But all of the black folks in the civil rights struggles, okay, many of them came from Jamaica, Barbados, the Virgin Islands. Ever hear of Shirley Chisholm? And I like, she was a, she's a, well, I guess I could say was because she left us, but she's a distant cousin of mine, okay? Yeah, from the Virgin Islands, right? Congressman Shirley Chisholm. I believe she was the first woman, a serious contender to run for president of the United States. Definite civil rights platform. So this whole business about somehow you got what it comes to fundamental Black Americans. I mean, what the hell is that? The slave ship stopped at Cuba and Jamaica, St. Thomas, took off some of us, and then it kept going up to Charleston, New York, even Boston, right? So, I mean, what's the beef? Okay, immigrants that come from Africa now, what they had like what 250 millions of cologne. So we all got burned, baby. you know. So why are we going to start stabbing at each other? Now, I have a problem, not just with African or Caribbean immigrants. I have a problem with all immigrants, and I'll tell you what their problem is. A lot of them, they get a lot of bullshit information from certain quarters. But well, the Black Americans, they're all criminals. Blah 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 blah. You gotta stay away from them. You gotta watch them, right? And you have the same bastards that tell Black Americans, "Oh, well, these Caribbean and African people, they think they better than you," and blah 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 blah. And see, uh, I think that is so destructive. I think it's destructive when these negative forces tell Italian immigrants or Greek immigrants, Eastern European immigrants, Arab immigrants, that, hey, well, Black Americans are blah, 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 right? So uh, that's why I said FBA is just another attempt to bring this unity. They do it inside the Black American community. Well, it's the same game. It's called this unity. It's called divide and conquer. And people need to be awoke enough to see that and take it for what it's worth. Now, being, well, I guess I am half Caribbean, half Black American. Um, I would say that background really benefits me because I have a chance to see the assholes on both sides of the fences. Black American assholes, Afro Caribbean assholes. Okay, and uh, my life experience has taught me that there really ain't dime's worth of difference between either community. I mean, they may have certain traits. In certain respects, Black Americans had it rougher because we had chattel slavery here, and then we had Jim Crow, and people around the world, European, African, gotta remember something. Black Americans were not fully independent citizens here in the United States. I'm talking about what, 1965? I mean, that's just real, right? And remember, Black Americans built this country. We built the foundation. Excuse me, Black Americans built the United States. They built the foundation. Okay, they built the White House. They built Jefferson's house. Right? They built New York City. They built Wall Street, and they were sold on Wall Street. You see, um, they built magnificent edifices for themselves. Black Wall Street in Tulsa, Rosewood in Florida, Wilmington in North Carolina. And what happened every time they built something, had businesses, they were burned down, and people were murdered. Okay. Africa, you had your problem. Okay, you had your problems of colonialism, right? And you had your problems of brutality, right? Remember the Belgian Congo, right? Leopold, he killed what? Up to about over 10 million brothers and sisters in the Congo to get the rubber. You didn't bring in your quota, you had your hand chopped off. You didn't bring it in the next day, you had the other hand chopped off. I mean, this is real, this is history. So I think that, oh, and the same thing with the Caribbean. Now, the Caribbeans, because mostly under the British, aside from like the Haitian Revolution, and look what happened to them. They stood up. They successfully freed their island. And they've been paying in blood for it ever since. Um, so when we sit up here and we talk about, oh, well, Black Americans say, oh, I don't like them Caribbeans or them Africans, and Africans and Caribbeans talk about, oh, well, you gotta watch them Black Americans. All you're doing, you're playing the same game of the people that essentially enslaved both of all of us. Okay. And I would say again to my Caucasian fellow Americans and white, could be Caucasian European immigrants, which really there ain't that many, because nowadays, especially under Trump, you don't find a whole bunch of Western Europeans coming to the United States, not even as tourists. I mean, I can't say that I blame them, you see. But just to say to you good folks, that's the story. Okay. It's about the name of the game is battling injustice. You understand what I'm saying? So all people can live and have a decent quality of life. Well, that's the bottom line. Trump started this whole thing about immigration. He was able to find a bunch of those like red hat people that hate the idea of black or brown people being in America. And, Trump served as their willing outlet for their crazy xenophobia and what have you. Okay. Oh, they're criminals. No, no. Look at all the folks that ICE has picked up, right? I mean, it's like a small percentage of violent crimes. Listen, coming into America, okay, just talking about here, coming to America and not, having your proper paperwork or what have you, that is not a crime. That's not a criminal thing. It's a civil thing in this country. Yeah, everybody forget America is a land of immigrants. We are not like European countries. We don't have that blood and soil bullshit, right? We have people in America from everywhere. Okay, you take a walk. I'm a New Yorker, right? So I'll tell you, take a walk down in Manhattan, the South Ferry, and take a look at that Statue of Liberty that the French gifted us because we ended chattel slavery in America, right? And then while you're looking across the water, take a look to the right, and you'll see these huge stone like tablets, right, rising out of the ground. And on those tablets, you have names of all these guys and some women who died serving this country in World War II. And you're going to see all kinds of names. You're going to see Black American names. You're going to see Irish and Italian and Greek and Polish, Eastern European, right? That's America, okay? And this was during a time of high segregation, but that was still us. You know, how many lives were saved by Italian boys when we landed at Anzio in World War II because they could speak the language and deal with the partisan, right? See, I don't know, maybe because I'm a little older and I grew up in America where we kind of worshipped, even with the racism and what have you, we worshipped our diversity. Now you have these phony people with these stupid red hats that apparently they want a homogeneous America that's locked away from the rest of the world. Well, I would say this idea about being locked away from the rest of the world, ask the farmers out there in Nebraska how that's working out. But you're so far from the rest of the world. Ask them, right? The single parent mom in the supermarket trying to shop for her and her kids, right? And having to deal with them prices because the prices are sky high because all the people that pick all the food and can all the meat, ICE has run off or has caught and deported, right? So ask them about that. See, xenophobia, racism, bigotry, hey, baby, that's expensive. And under Donald Trump, America is paying the price, right? Killing us off from our allies. In the Navy, we had a thing. We had somebody that was like a real asshole, senior enlisted or officer, right? We had the same. We're just going to work around that person until they figure out a way to get rid of them, right? Well, basically, I am afraid of this, because like I said, I'm an American. I have kin, friends back in the States, back in New York, and I'm afraid for them because I can see it happening, right? I can see what's going on now. People are going to, in the rest of the world, they're going to say, well, look, we're going to have to figure out a way because right now Americans are going through an asshole phase. We don't have time for it. So we're going to have to figure out a way to work around these bastards. And that's what they're doing. God forbid our debt, what is it, the bonds and shit? So, God forbid they stop buying our debt. Woo! But you know something? I have told people when Trump went in for the second time, I told people, I honestly believe that Donald Trump's intentions and the people who really support him, in my opinion, they want to destroy the United States. They have something else in mind for America, for the United States of America. Um, I have some notions about what it is. Um, I think it will be something like what's more dystopian, something like the Hunger Games or Blade Runner or something like along those lines. But this, Trump and his cohort, they don't give a damn about the United States. Seriously. And I would say to those folks out there in the so-called heartland, all right, you need to tell your red hat wearing friends and relatives to start using some critical thinking skills. Because a person that cares about his country, they're not going to, he's trying to screw over our judiciary, uh, with the exception of a few Republicans and, of course, the Democrats in Congress right now. He has urinated all over the prerogatives of Congress. I mean, he's done that. We are seeing that. And I'm glad that you have some Congress people who are finally starting to, try to bite back, right? The Justice Department is a joke. You saw Pam Bondi up there talking about, yeah, nobody talks about, where was it, with the Dows at 50,000? What the hell's that got to do with Epstein? What does that have to do with raping 10, 11-year-old girls? I don't, I'm ignorant. Somebody, what is Trump's body guy or whatever? What you say? He calls people retarded, which I think is a terrible thing. But call me that. Explain to me how the Dow having being at 50,000. What does that have to do with the rape of children? She is the Attorney General of the United States. It's her job to get to the bottom of who is raping kids, who is raping little girls. And as a woman, you would think that that would be number one on her hit list. But she's talking about some goddamn dowry, 50,000. I mean, it's just insane. What we have allowed Trump to do to this country. So, I don't know. And this other one, God, I can't think of her name. The DNI, uh, Republic of National Intelligence, or whatever her job. The one that was down, they caught her down there in Atlanta, where she had no business being. What the hell is that all about? And look, make it short. Obviously, Trump has nothing but disgust and disdain for the United States of America, our institutions, right? Our history. I mean, he's proven that over and over again. He's come out of his own mouth. So I would say to Democrats and those few Republicans that still have brain cells left, stop trying to negotiate with Trump and his followers. Tell them exactly what you want to see happen. Period. Stop worrying about trying to reform ICE. The question should not be, should we reform ICE? The question needs to be how we get rid of it, quite frankly. That's what we need to be talking about. And I would say that to Chuck Schumer. I would say that to my man from Brooklyn, right? Hakeem. Yo, this is what we need to be about. Okay. And I would warn, just a word of warning, because I know you got these like people like Fetterman, these moderate Democrats floating around in both the House and the Senate. Listen, you have people who are trying to bring about a dictatorship in the United States of America. Okay. That hurts. Okay. Especially in a country like this. And I think that you folks need to get real. Now, they've already tried to murder the governor of Michigan, right? They've already murdered uh, Democrats in Michigan. Oh, what was that lady? She was the Speaker of the State House, and I believe it was Michigan. And her husband. This is no game. This is not politics. And see, this is something that people need to understand. We're not playing politics here. This is something totally different. What happened in 24, a monster and his cohorts were unleashed on the American scene. And we have to deal with that. And I really wish that Democrats, all elected Democrats, would start to understand that. Because see, you know what happened to the moderates from the Weimar Republic in Germany? They wound up dead, okay, or flying out of windows from like 5 and 6 stories. That's what happens to monarchs when the authoritarians take over. They don't care if you're kissing their ass because they already know exactly, hey, but this guy, well, he was a Democrat. He might be a moderate Democrat. Oh, would he become a Republican? Oh, he was a Democrat. Okay. So I would strongly advise Democrats to understand that we are in the fight of our lives in 2026 and in 2028. Now, let me cap all this off by saying this is my opinion. This is what I believe. And I will maintain my right to believe and say what I believe, whether I'm in New York or Africa or, well, I ain't going to say, I'm not going to say bumfuck Egypt, but wherever I am, okay? Because this is real. This is no joke. Okay, this is the question that Benjamin Franklin, when they came out after they made the Constitution in 1789, she said, "Hey, Doc, what?" No, that was 1788, if I'm not mistaken. 87, 88. Right? But this woman was out there, and when Ben came out, she said, "Hey, Dr. Franklin, what did you give us? A monarchy or a republic?" And he said to her, "A republic, man, if you can keep it." Well, over these next 2 years, we're going to see if we can keep it. Listen, time out. Enough of this. Listen, I thank you for taking the time to listen to me. I say peace, take care of yourself, stay woke, stay happy. I'll try to, and keep breathing. Take care. We'll be back.